Let's talk about this TikTok situation now for a few minutes. As said, you're involved in this, given your position on the committee in Congress. It's interesting, you know. You have on the one side, you have this argument from people who say that they make a lot of money on TikTok. It's a way these influencers to make a living. They don't want it to go away. One such person, Isabel Brown, was on our show last week. Let's play a quick clip from her, and then we can get into the larger conversation. Here's what she said about the whole thing.
Congress seems to have singled out TikTok as a security concern for national security in the United States. And yet we have documented examples of Meta selling your data to the CCP, to Russia, and other potential foreign adversaries. Airbnb has been known to sell your data to the CCP. Our devices are largely made in China, and there are a multifaceted approach to other concerns there. So I have a hard time believing this is really about national security.
Okay, you'd be the person to ask about that. She has a hard time believing Congressman it's about national security. What do you say?
Well, first of all, because of the Chinese national security laws, TikTok would be required to hand over whatever data the CCP requires.
Right, if they asked. We went through this with Huawei. So if they ask, they got to get, that's the law there. They'd have to give it to them.
Exactly. And so it is a national security threat. And quite frankly, the TikTok has the opportunity to continue to operate in the United States. It simply has to divest from ByteDance, the parent company that's Chinese and affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party. So it's really in TikTok's hands how they want to go about this, following complying with the United States law.
So you'd be, I mean, there's some offers, some people have gone public, said, oh, I'll buy it. We don't know any of the monetary details behind any of that, I don't think, but you're fine with TikTok. It's just sell it.
Yeah, I just don't want a foreign adversary to own such a vital information. And we want to protect America's data. We want to make sure that we are not allowing foreign adversaries to unduly influence the American people. And so to me, it's about who owns and who TikTok is accountable to. If it's an American company or a friendly nation, one that is not an adversary, they can continue to operate in the United States, and the influencers will continue to their business.
Right, because sometimes we joke about the influencers, but they make sometimes that's their livelihood. I mean, and even she was saying she makes money on other apps, by the way, in other ways, not just TikTok. So she makes money online, and you can in many other places. But this is a real way to make money for a lot of people. By the way, do you know logistically if it is quote unquote banned, would it just, if someone has it, it just wouldn't work, or it just wouldn't be able to be downloaded anymore? What would actually happen next week? Do you know?
Well, my understanding is that they would not be able to be hosted on websites, and app stores would not be able to sell, but people could still have TikTok on their phone, but they would not be able to update. But again, it's really a matter of why doesn't the Chinese Communist Party allow the sale of TikTok? Because ultimately, that's who the influencers need to influence in this case.
Right, because your point would be the reason is that because they wanted that data.
Exactly.
They want that data. By the way, I said I go back to Huawei because I remember covering that, and I went to China, interviewed their executives at the time. Do we know for a fact, or maybe you can't tell me, but do we know for a fact they're taking the data, or just that they could? I've never gotten a really straight answer on that.
So here's the thing. It's the requirement by law.
Right.
Their national security law says that any time that the CCP wants that data, it goes to the CCP, or they are violating the national security laws of China.
So you're just assuming that they do that, but you don't, because they can, it's a fair assumption in your view that they do. Is that the way to phrase it?
They're hacking people's communication, hacking into our infrastructure. They're spying at different military bases. Absolutely, that's a huge.
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to follow the story very closely. So now we've done both sides of it here over the last few days. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.